Hi, welcome to part 3. So we're going to take a look at some of the rules. Just take some look at some examples of inverse trig, arc trigs, in order to find the derivative. So the first one's pretty easy. I want to find the arc sine of 2x. Well, again, remember what I told you. You're not going to forget to use substitution. Okay? I promise that. Okay? So we're just going to be... Now, the rule for the derivative of arc sine is very simple. It's 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared times the u prime. That's our chain rule. So this is just saying 1 over the square root of 1 minus 2x squared becomes 4x squared times the derivative of my inside, 2. So I could write that if I wanted to as 2 over the square root of 1 minus 4x squared. And there's your derivative. Do the arc tangent. There's my u. That's my chain rule right there. Remember, you're not going to forget chain rule. I promise. So we're going to get, my rule says it's 1 over 1 plus u squared. So it's just easy. 1 over 1 plus 3x squared times the derivative of the inside, which is 3. Chain rule. So we get 3 over 1 plus 9x squared. Very easy to do. I can even do these with excellent ease right here. Very simple. This is our arcsecant. So my rule is right up here. 1 over the absolute value of u times the square root of u squared minus 1. So I just plug it all in. 1 over the absolute value of e to the 2x times the square root of e to the 2x squared minus 1 times chain rule. Don't forget your chain rule. You're not going to forget it. E to the 2x times 2. And I can simplify that. On top I get e to the 2x over the absolute value of e to the 2x times the square root of e to the 4x minus 1. Now, in most cases, you don't want to cancel these. But in this situation, you can. Because they're both going to be positive no matter what. This can never be negative. So, they're both going to be positive no matter what. But if this was just like 2x over 2x, you wouldn't want to. Because you have to account for both answers, the positive and the negative. So I always tell students in general, don't cancel, just leave it alone. You'll know if it's on a multiple choice, if you should reduce it or not. Now the last one, I can do this one of two ways. One, I can set up a triangle. That's easy. This is saying that the sine of the sine of some angle is 3x. So if I draw my triangle, here's my angle, 3x over 1. My length down here becomes the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. And I find the cosine of that angle is the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. So this function is really the cosine, which is really the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. So f of x is really the square root of 1 minus 9x squared to the 1/2. That's really what this function is. I can derive that very easily. Power rule, 1/2, 1 minus 9x squared to the negative 1/2 times derivative of the inside, negative 18x. Chain rule. And if I simplify that, we get negative 9x on top over the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. Very easy to do. Now I could do this an alternate way. I could just go straight for, just use chain rule. F prime of x. That's going to become the sine of the arc sine of 3x times the derivative of the inside. Arc sine of 3x is 1 over the square root of 1 minus, use my rule up here, 9x squared times the derivative of the inside, don't forget your chain rule, 3. Well, that looks really ugly, so the question is, are these the same? Of course they are. Arc sine and sine are inverses of each other. Those cancel. I get 3x times 3 over the square root of 1 minus 9x squared, which is 9x over the square root of 1 minus 9x squared. So you can solve it either way. It just depends. I honestly think this way is a little shorter than writing out a triangle, but if you ever get stuck, use triangles. Alright, so the last one we're going to take a look at down here. Find the equation of a tangent line. Oh no, tangent line. We love tangent line. Okay, so we got the function, and we got, where x equals, x equals negative root 2 over 2. So the first thing we have to do is find the point. And that means I have to find f of negative root 2 over 2. So if I plug that in, arc cosine of negative root 2 over 2. That's easy enough to do. Arc cosine becomes 3 pi over 4 because we're in the second quadrant times 1/2, 3 pi over 8. So we get the point negative root 2 over 2, 3 pi over 8. Next, we need the slope. Well, to get the slope, we got to take the derivative. F prime of x is cosine, so it's our cosine, which is the opposite of sine, so it's right over here, it's the negative of sine. So we get negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus, in this case, x squared. So if I want to find f prime of negative root 2 over 2, if I simplify it, I get negative 1 over 2 times the square root of 1 minus, and if I plug this negative root 2 over 2 in, we get 1/2. So we get negative 1 over 2 times the square root of 1/2. Now I'm going to invert and multiply this, and that's going to become negative root 2 over 2, and there's your slope. So our tangent line, y minus 3 pi over 8 equals negative root 2 over 2, x plus root 2 over 2. Don't be a hero, leave it alone. So that's it. So have fun with these. I kind of like these. They're kind of a little bit of fun for us to do, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.